Chess is one of those classic board games that everyone and their mother know of, even if not all of them particularly know how to play it. The concept is simple enough. You have two players on each end of a board of 64 squares, each of them having a set of pieces that move in a particular way, with the goal of capturing the opposing king. The ability to perform in this game is often associated with strategy, creativity, and calculation. But where did this board game that seemed to find its way to every corner of the globe originate from? This has been a topic of speculation, as there are many possible stories, tales, and similar board games which chess could have derived from. I came across one of those tales some time ago, and I've always kept it in the back of my mind, recalling it every now and then. Since I've found it so captivating, I figure it's worth sharing in this video. The tale takes place in a kingdom somewhere in what is now modern India. The king was what one would call a board game enthusiast, spending his free time playing varying board games with his advisors. He always won whatever board game he played, against whoever was on the other side of the board. He won so much, in fact, that one day he decided to tell all his advisors how much they sucked, and that he wants something new to challenge himself. So, he requested an open call for any willing scholar to make a new board game which will satisfy his needs. Enter a possibly mythical Brahmin mathematician, Sisa. Actually, now that I think about it, everyone in the story is probably mythical. But anyways, entering the king's palace, Sisa presented him with Chaturanga, a board game with the signature 8x8 grid board of 64 squares, with two sets of pieces trying to capture each other's king. Sound familiar? Nonetheless, the king was loving this new kid on the block. The game required players to calculate every move strategically and creatively, always challenging themselves to find the best moves. In addition, there are so many possible moves one could play that ensures each game would always be a new experience. This ticked all his boxes. Satisfied, the king told Sisa to name any reward he so desires, and it shall be granted. Sisa pondered briefly before giving the king a deceptively simple request. He asked that he would receive a single grain of rice for the first of the 64 square tiles. The subsequent tile would then receive him double the number of rice grains gained from the previous square tile, until all 64 square tiles are finally accounted for and added together. Looking at it from the surface, this doesn't seem to be too crazy of a request. I mean, it's just rice grains, it's not even talking about grams. So the king didn't seem to think so either, as he accepted Sisa's request right away, ordering his advisors and subjects to immediately begin with gathering the rice necessary for this reward. The first time I read the story, I had also fallen into the trap. It didn't seem like a lot of rice at all when I tried to calculate the first few square tiles worth of rice in my own head. But after some time, the longer I continued calculating the latter half of those square tiles, the more did the numbers start getting out of hand. And I mean way out of hand. To put this into perspective, the final square tile, the 64th, alone would require 368.9 trillion kilograms or billion metric tons of rice. That is an unfathomable amount of rice to produce, even for modern technology, and that's only for the final square. In 2023 to 24, India's rice production reached a record high of 136.7 million tons. It's impressive, sure, but it would have paled in comparison to the task at hand. Unsurprisingly, the kingdom ended up having a grain shortage before even coming close to completing Sisa's request. Of course, this was what he expected. He always knew that his request was impossible to fulfill. The reason why Sisa made it in the first place was to highlight that no man, king or not, was wise enough to rule alone, and that advice from other people was necessary and vital, especially when making such decisions that may affect the entire kingdom. Impressed with Sisa's wisdom, he was made the king's closest advisor, although it would have been nice if he still got some of that rice though. This is Jason, and I hope you found this disinterest a little bit interesting.